Right.
That's the slippery slope, and then the next one can come along.
And that one actually came about because while it wasn't a building, there were already items, structures, whatever, that were the same height as what we put in that was revenue generating and tax generating instead. You know, we were very particular in having it align with that same height that was there. I mean, if you're gonna do, in Huntersville, if you're going to do height, this corridor, if you will, narrow corridor, section of 73, I mean, this is the spot. That's if you're going to do height. You know, there's just nowhere, as far as the way all the other main roads are developed, currently, there's just nowhere for it. Like, it wouldn't be either viable, or with everything around it, you couldn't even fashion it in that spot. I don't know.
As I mentioned, I think that the best part of this is that you have the opportunity to hear our feedback and come back with a better product. Because I think that you've heard, just by what just happened, you've heard what our concerns are, and that, you know, we are echoing what citizens are saying.
Mr. Pollard?
I would simply end, my final comments will be simply that if we look at the 2040 plan for this town, it made it very clear that intensity was to be on 73, and mainly down at Burkdale Common and up where Targets is. Density was to be in that same set of areas. Our actions tonight basically define the level of intensity that's possible within the city. A rejection of this basically says this level of intensity is too much, and we will not, therefore, in the future, permit anything to achieve this level. Because in essence, that's really the definition of what we've done by saying that this isn't it. So anybody that comes along 15 years from now and Targets wants to get blown up and something really big and nice gets in there, this is the template they go back to and say, but this is the level of intensity that was acceptable to this board. So we set precedent by the very actions that we take, which is nothing, nothing says good or bad indifference, just a fact of the matter is that we set the definition of what intensity is and what density will be for that quarter.
I gotta take exception to that, because the intensity and density is just in this area of Burkdale Village. That's not to say that you couldn't go up to Kenton Place and try the same thing, or a new build rather than stacking your stuff on top of existing. So this is unique in that respect. We're not setting a precedent. We're just saying, as far as redevelopment goes, I could go to Ballantyne and find you this design down there in about half their intersections. So it's just specific to Burkdale Village and the covenants that they're currently operating under, in my view. Thanks.
And like I said earlier, though, a 4-story apartment versus a 5-story apartment is going to increase intensity. So a different 20 townhomes is going to increase intensity. So there's ways to increase the intensity. Again, I'm going off with the specific plan here.
The problem with talking about other sites is the applicant doesn't own them. So saying something to the effect of, well, we'll just wait until someone wants to put something in a Kenton Place or wherever, I don't know. I mean, that's...
They didn't own this a year ago, right? North American Properties owned it, so it's not so much the ownership, it's the direction. I think I was kind of replying to setting a precedence for the whole area.
Well, but there's always a lot of talk from citizens of, oh, well, you just take this and no, we'll just put it over there. It should go over there. And it doesn't work like that.
I got that. I got that. My point was, when he was saying we're setting a precedent for the whole corridor, I didn't view it that way. You can have your opinion, I can have mine. I didn't view it that way because this is specific. We're setting a precedent specific, I guess, to the Burkdale Village, but not up and down the 73 corridor, no.
If anything, and I don't know the whole corridor, right? If anything, I would lean toward what Mr. Pollard's saying in that if there is one spot in the entire corridor that everyone is going to look at, it is this. The town is marketed with Burkdale Village in mind. Burkdale Village is thought of as the crown jewel. Our own downtown has to compete with Burkdale Village. And for the longest time, we heard that Burkdale Village was considered our de facto downtown. There is no commercial development on 73 in Mecklenburg County that remotely comes close to this. And so it does carry additional weight beyond just its legal parcel boundaries. Now, is it the whole corridor? I don't know. Probably not. But it's got more weight than just its legal boundaries. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, call the question.
Mm-hmm.
That's a motion. I call the question. Otherwise, end the debate. If I get a second, if we end the debate, then we just vote. Call the question.
Second.
You're just asking us to take a vote? Yeah.
Well, I made a motion that it allows to vote, that we're going to vote.
Actually, you're not allowed to do that.
That's Robert Rule of Order.
I mean, we can vote, I don't have a problem, I'm just saying, like, you're introducing another motion when there's a motion on the table.
I mean, if you're gonna vote, then are you good with just taking back the motion? Or are you saying that we're voting now, or do you want to continue
I'd love to
discussion?
vote now.
Okay, or if you want to continue discussion, then, but you're
I-
saying you are going to vote now? Okay,
There we go.
okay.
Let's vote. All right. The motion, Greg, you made the motion, and it was a motion of denial. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, the motion for denial carries.
Correct, thank you.
Okay. 5-minute break. For all the folks that want to see our next one, feel free to stay. Yeah, seriously. Otherwise, thank you for coming out tonight. Be safe on your way home.
Oh, really? Want us to corral it? Of course.
All right. Thank you for that little break. Let's get back to it. I would love a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, bring Jay Henson back.
That would be the motion I'd love to hear. Second. All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? Mr. Henson, come join us. All right, next up. My notes. Okay, next item on the agenda, we're going to consider recommendation on petition R24-14. There's a request by Linda Long to rezone approximately 64.5 acres located at 12705 Commerce Station Drive, and that's from corporate business to corporate business conditional district, and that's to develop an industrial and flex space warehouse development. Mr. Priest.
Good evening, everyone. So R2414 is known as Commerce Station Industrial. The property in question is at the very end of Commerce Station Drive in the business park there, east of Old Statesville Road, behind South Wire and the tall tower. So it's a conditional rezoning from corporate business to corporate business CBCD. So essentially, the underlying zoning district is staying the same. The aerial photography is just here for your reference. You'll notice there's two black lines intersecting on this property, so those are thoroughfares. So that lends into the discussion a little bit later. Rezoning plan highlights to keep in mind for this. This is a 4-lot subdivision, commercial. What's being requested is for flex space, distribution, warehouse development. And again, those are the type of uses that are already allowed under corporate business. There is a maximum square footage of 500,000 square feet, but that will probably change on updated plans once the inclusion of the other parcels are included. The purpose of the rezoning, whenever you see that the underlying zoning district is staying the same, it's not necessarily for an intensification. It's really for modifications. The applicants are extending a little bit into the swim buffer. They're looking to grade the 80-foot buffers that are required in corporate business. And right now they're exceeding a block length maximum, so they'll need modification on that perhaps. And so that's kind of the underlying rationale for the rezoning application. And just wanted to point out too, a big aspect of this rezoning is an additional stub that the applicants have agreed to have to stub to the Greenway Waste property along the back. If we go back a little bit and look there at the top right of the screen, you'll see the landfill. And that access for that landfill is on Holbrooks Road. And so Holbrooks Road is a very residentially oriented road. There's residences along it. And for quite some time, the town has been working with the landfill to try to get their accesses, their truck traffic, the heavy trucks, off of Holbrook Road and into a thoroughfare, into a commercial street. So the road that you see that goes up there gives access to the back building that's proposed on the development, but it would also give access, and it'd be an easement or some type of right-of-way for Greenway Waste and to get those trucks on the Commerce Station Drive. So that's a big benefit to the area here. Just things to keep in mind, considerations are the modifications. The picture on the right in red highlights the stream buffer that's being impacted. Again, disturbing corporate business buffer disturbances. The CB buffer requires 80-foot buffers along the Veerhoff Drive right-of-way. Those are requested to be torn down and then replanted for any existing vegetation that is there. They are requesting a modification that's the access that's going to be private, that goes up and gives access to Greenway Waste into Lot 1. The applicants are looking to not have the requirement of sidewalk on one side currently. That might change in current discussions, but that's what the current plan shows. Block length is maximum 1,500 feet for industrial streets, and with the extension of Commerce Station Drive, the proposed length would be 2,300 feet. So that currently needs to get broken up there a little bit. So we mentioned the thoroughfares, Veerhoff Drive extension and Everett Keith Road extension intersects on this property. So the sticky wicket here is that the town is currently proposing and has hired a consultant to put together alternate alignments from what the approved alignment currently is. There's been discussion with other industries in the area about potentially wanting a move. The alignment has been in the books for about 20 years, and so the town is starting the process to go to NCDOT and to go to the Metropolitan Planning Organization to say, is it a good idea to tweak this alignment? So the applicant is coming in right at that time. And that's one of the reasons why the plan has not been updated and resubmitted from the public hearing to the planning board, because our contractor has just now come up with some alternate alignments and has been able to make those public. So we've just gotten those to the applicant, and when they do update their plan, they're going to update a couple alignments to match what we're looking to take to the Metropolitan Planning Organization, so we can try to match those up and try to get some consistency to make sure that the site plan that's proposed will have various options we'll be able to match and stay firm with the alignment. So again, urban open space and changing some notes is what we're looking to do, and the applicant has mentioned that they're going to do that. Just wanted to show these alternate alignments. So in the red line there is the current alignment, and the applicant is pretty much showing that current alignment on their plan. But again, we're looking to perhaps even match the purple line or the orange line, or it may be somewhere in between, because that process is public. There needs to be input from the adjacent property owners. And so we're just starting this process. And where that line ends up, it could be anywhere in between, or maybe a little bit further, one to the north or to the south. So we've gotten this alignment. We're starting that process. The applicants are going to update their plan. We've got them these lines, and they're going to be able to give a couple options to say, okay, if it goes north, our site plan will look like this. If it goes south, the site plan will look like this, just to try to give some consistency and confidence that the site plan is going to match, because ultimately it's going to be good for both parties, the town and the applicant, to really have a site plan that matches. Because if it changes too much, they need another, if the plan gets approved, but at the same time Veerhoff changes and they need a modification, well, they're going to have to come back and modify the rezoning in order to make it match. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure the site plan has some consistency and some real basis element for Veerhoff Drive there. So the 2040 plan, in your staff report, mentioned ones that it supports, opportunities where we can make some changes. The biggest thing that staff has kind of honed in on here is trying to have an apples to apples water quality swap. So if they're disturbing the stream, having a mitigation for that stream disturbance that has local benefits. And the applicants are now working with Mecklenburg County to participate in upgrading Cane Creek, which is this stream that's being disturbed flows into. So if that can get solidified and knocked down, that would be a nice win and certainly would meet the 2040 plan. So staff recommends approval with all the conditions that are outlined in the staff report. Now, again, we didn't get an updated plan because they were waiting on the options for Veerhoff. But we're comfortable because, again, their current plan shows the current alignment, so that's the minimum that's required. So it's not necessarily an alignment issue. It's just trying to make sure that we have confidence that the site plan is not going to significantly change. And staff can do that administratively. So we're comfortable with that. The TIA is still under review. There's draft mitigation on the plan, but that mitigation is not final. Staff is still reviewing those, the TIA, so that is still outstanding. But we're comfortable because anything that is going to come up, they're going to agree to do, and they got to do. So that's my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Priest. Questions for staff?
So the swim buffer, they're just going to grade over top of it? They going to put a culvert in there? Is it going to connect to the other side of the property? I mean, I know you said something about mitigation. Is there a mitigation bank? What happens, or are we just filling it in?
So I'm not 100% what the actual, I'm guessing it's being filled in, is my guess. And then, because they have to get a 401, 404 permit to actually disturb that. So my guess is it goes away. That's how it usually goes.
They pay to a bank or do something else, create a bank.
Correct. And that's the element from the ordinance. The bare minimum is you basically contribute to a bank or anywhere in Mecklenburg County, they can use those funds to go improve water quality elsewhere. So staff was asking them to do that with the local flare, so we can help local water quality, and they're agreeing to do that on the updated plan.
And Chris, we'll go ahead and bring that back to the applicant when it's their time. I made a note. Other questions for staff?
I'll follow up on the water quality. I mean, it's an option to do something on site, right? Part of, I think
Yes.
it's chapter 8.
Certainly.
I mean, I guess it's the applicant's choice, but wouldn't it be much better to try to, do something with the SEM1 or some additional infiltration somewhere rather than paying to do it off-site? And, I mean, I know it all goes the same place, but it'd be nice to get it at the source, if that's an option.
Yeah, I mean, I think staff is open with the county, if they work with the county and to say, hey, this is something that would be really helpful for the water quality that would match
Yeah.
disturbance of the stream, then that's certainly something that would be helpful. So either on-site or something that's very local, staff is open to that as well.
Mr. Priest, let's assume the applicant decides later on to put something on lots 3 or 4. In my understanding, one's going to be a challenge no matter what. But just in general, what would that process look like?
So my understanding is working with the applicants that they're going to put a note on the plan that says anything that goes there can be per CB, whatever corporate business says, which is fine, as long as we understand what that is. So it could be anything. It could be anything that CB allows, manufacturing, light manufacturing. It could be more distribution. It could be office. So it would be any use allowed in the underlying zoning district.
I think when we, I'm sorry, I don't remember the project name, but it was the commercial that was along 73 east of 115, and it happened to have 4 parcels as well, and only 2 were known at the time. This was a few months ago. And is that what it's called? Anyway, and so when that came up, the terms, just like what you're talking about, were predetermined as far as here's the list, here's what can go in. If I remember correctly, a TIA still had to be done though, with the new scope? Like, depending on what it is, say it's light industrial that goes in there, now does the addition of that, you know, change the overall performance of the project? Is that basically what we do?
So the TIA would be based on a certain square footage, and anything above what the TIA is done for, they'd have to accommodate for. So if they come in and they're saying, hey, 500,000 square feet, and that's what their TIA was based on, then that's good for that. So when they come in for Lot 3, if it's over that, then they would have to do their own TIA
Gotcha.
or modify the existing one to include that additional square footage. So it would have to catch it either way, rezoning or no.
So in this scenario, based on the numbers that were with us, if it was over roughly 48,000 square feet, that's past the cap, that is the scope of this ask. And
Correct.
so they would have to.
Correct.
Gotcha, okay. All right, thank you. Other questions for staff? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just point out where we're having the block length problem. Is Commerce Drive, Commerce Station Drive, or is it the spur road that goes toward the dump?
So it's Commerce Station Drive because that's the only public street that's proposed.
Okay.
Okay, so if I can draw on it. On the sketch plan for the whole development, there's a public street that's proposed here. Okay, so Commerce Station comes to the east and they're proposed to continue it on to give access. So that distance would be here. So that length is 2,300 feet, give or take. And so what staff is requesting is to make that private street walk and talk like a duck, walk and talk like a public street, even though it's not. So it breaks it up, and then you have the required break, even though it's not a public street.
And that's what causes the sidewalk requirement to get kicked off then, because it's acting like a public street?
Correct, and that's, staff is recommending that that sidewalk stay to make it walk and talk like a public street.
Would you foresee that sidewalk have any function, or is it going to be a sidewalk to nowhere?
I mean, people walk. I mean, it gives access to Lot 1. There's no way to get to Lot 1 unless you walk through the truck court of Lot 2. So, yes, I mean, I would foresee some people using it and walking on it at some point.
That's all.
And the applicants are here, and I don't know if they want to do a presentation or not, but they do have slides.
Any other questions for staff, or can we bring the applicant up? Okay. I was wondering if you'd get a turn tonight.
We got a turn. I think we can keep this under an hour. Thank you, Planning Board. I'm Robert Irvin from Irvin Law Group, and I'm representing the partnership between Crescent Communities and GTIS. And we have, from the team here tonight, we have Chase Curley from Crescent, and then we have the team from Seaman Whiteside. We have Trey Little and Craig Berwick. And if I could quickly ask Chase to come up and talk a little bit about this partnership.
Good evening, Planning Board and staff. Thank you, Brad. Always do such a good job. Make this so much more pleasant for us. My name's Chase Curley. I reside at 6535 Sharon Hills Road, Charlotte, North Carolina. Work for Crescent Communities. I've been there 8 years. I'm the managing director overseeing our industrial and life science business line across the Southeast. The Crescent Communities mixed-use master plan developer headquartered out of Charlotte just had our 60th birthday. We're excited about partnering with GTIS on this project. They're not here tonight, but they're a New York-based real estate developer as well. We're sort of 50-50 partners through this one. But you know, with our experience of developing over 30 million square feet of commercial space across the Southeast and out towards the Midwest, we're very excited about bringing that capability, skill set, as far as the design, thoughtfully planned communities to this project. We got 13 minutes left. I won't go too long. But you know, our platform, again, headquartered out of Charlotte. Stewardship is very important to us. You'll see in one of the elevations of the building, we do incorporate wood, even in a tilt concrete building. We are even exploring how we can embed carbon in the buildings. We have a very long history through sustainability, Crescent Land and Timber, cut from the cloth of Duke Energy, 60 years ago. And we're also owned by Sumitomo Forestry, a 350-year-old company that also focuses on renewable resources, wood manufactured products. This one, buildings like this can't be built out of wood, but we do like to at least provide as much sustainability back into the building footprint as possible. They are going to be LEED certified already, not necessarily LEED certified, but until we know who the tenant and who that user would be in order to accommodate power, water, sewer infrastructure, we can then start to work through them on the credits to hopefully achieve that. Crescent, we have two different brands in the commercial space. Axial, that's where we do our industrial logistics, and then Yield, which is our life science business, which we are trying to take that on the road and would love to see that evolve here. So we do have that capabilities. Along with, we just recently received the Developer of the Year through NAIOP. We are very proud of that. It's National Association of Industrial and Office Properties, and that's nationwide. And a lot of the focus around that award was focused on the creative mixed use of asset classes that we do develop, from residential, commercial, and then how deep we go into mixed use, life sciences. Office is a bad word these days, but we do own and develop that, and it's been receptive. And this is just an example of a project we built in Cabarrus, showing some of the wood accents that do go into the building. Very attractive to create employment access, entryway features, a lot of light. It's not just a warehouse with a forklift driver. We do accommodate these buildings in order to really attract employment. It's something that we know is one-to-one and akin towards this board, this community. We want to strive to achieve that. It's a win for us. We can't always guarantee it, but it's a building that we know is designed and thoughtfully crafted through a way that is very attractive towards manufacturing in order to accommodate employment uses. And then there's some of the other examples of projects we have built and some of the tenants. As well as some reference images of GTIS and projects they've built, some of their architectural throughput. And with that, we're very excited to partner with the town, very excited to work with the staff continually through this project, and look forward to providing any feedback.
All right, and I'll wrap this up real quick. I don't want to retrace anything that Brad did. That was just an overview of kind of the site. Like Brad said, what we're asking for is already permitted in corporate business, but we're here because of that stream mitigation. I'm not sure what happened on this slide, but the colors got messed up. So we're here for this conditional rezoning process. And here you can see a little bit better example of how this all fits into the area with Southwire, Reynolds, and then this soccer academy right to the south there with the town of Huntersville utility station. And then the Greenway landfill facility up to the north there. Let's see here, just general project information, kind of exactly what Brad said. You can see, highlight up there the landfill access to bring some of that landfill traffic off of Holbrooks, off of the residential area, and into more of an industrial setting like Commerce Station. And then we've also worked with staff to address a lot of comments as far as what Brad mentioned about the mitigation fees for the stream impact. We've spoken with the county, and the intent is to have a note that says that those mitigation fees will be applied to Cane Creek, which is in Huntersville, which will keep it local and keep it impacting Huntersville. We updated a couple of the notes. We're going to add a condition note about the possible Veerhoff Road alignments, and then also the improvements to the private drive to make sure it's up to public standards. This just gives you an idea of how the lots are broken up. Brad already covered the Huntersville 2040 plan, but it is in line with that, and it is in an employment center, and employment centers contain a mix of office, industrial, and institutional. I don't know if, Chase, you want to talk to any of the materials, but these are initial renderings, and these are some of the materials that are going to be used in the buildings, and so this kind of gives you an idea of what it'll look like. And really importantly, real quick, the economic benefits, the development expenditures are over $50 million. This is currently in the ETJ, so it's not collecting any property tax. After the development, it's estimated that Huntersville is going to be getting about $132,000 a year in property taxes. The initial construction benefits are over $58 million. The construction jobs created are about 237, and then after construction, the estimate is to have about 250 jobs in the development. Just real quick, the public benefits, like I said, access to the Greenway property to the north, Dedication of the right-of-way for Everett Keith and Verhoff Drive, consistent with the CRTPO, elevated architectural design, also access to some of the currently landlocked Bockham properties to the south and southeast will help, and then traffic improvements to Meacham Road and US 21. And that's all we have, and we're here to answer any questions.
Speed round. I like it. All right, questions for the applicant. Actually, do we want to start with the one?
Yeah, just if you could go over a little bit about the stream, you're just going to fill it in, pay to the buffer. Nothing's going to be done underneath the roads, culverts, anything like that.
Yeah, well, it's not that we're going to fill it in. I mean, there will be a crossing, so there will be pipe that kind of helps allow the critters and the vegetation.
Okay.
It's not, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not just that we fill it in. It is to continue to allow stream as well as, again, critters to pass through it. It has to go, it is impacted because we're putting something in there as far as like a barrel or pipe, and that's when we have to get the permit through that.
All right, excellent. And then my next question, this is going back to what Brad was talking about, was Verhoff may move north or south. If you go back to where they show the lots, maybe is the best one, just because I thought that was a cool slide. But if Verhoff moves to the north, what happens to Lot 2? First question is, what Verhoff is this? Is this this is the red line Verhoff, not the blue and the orange? All right. So if it moves up to that orange to way to the north, I think it was, what does Lot 2 look like? Or just out of curiosity, I guess.
So I mean, that's kind of the question that we're asking, right? You know, I mean, we kind of just want to understand that everything fits with the shift. And so that's what we're discussing now.
And that's something you guys are willing to do, is redraw this multiple times depending on.
Well, we got to put a clock on it, but
Right.
we can't let it sit out there, because it's going to go through a public process that'll take a while. So I think we're willing to allow for some flexibility. We're trying to work, given that we just got the plans, and it is like putting like a figure 8 on Verhoff Drive, which can, if you go, top left, bottom right, or top right, bottom left, and it creates a lot of conflict.
It does, yeah.
It puts us in a place where, it's hard for us to progress without knowing where we're going to go. So we are going to look at some of the flexible options and see which ones make the least amount of, I guess, impact, substantial impact, and then work with the staff to go from there.
Yeah,
So, I mean, we can't leave a blanket, we'll move it anywhere at any point in time, and that's where we're trying to work to do something that's reasonable. Fortunately, it does reflect what the current alignment is now, and it does have some waggle to it.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that there's going to be a little bit of uncertainty with this, because it's going to be a 6-month process. We're not going to know where the alignment is ultimately going to end up for, maybe the end of the year, right? So it could be a while. The intent here is just to understand in the ballpark, can we make that work? And so that's what we're working through right now.
Right, which ones we can make work.
Yeah, I mean, my only, I guess, question, I'm gonna probably ask the same one that was just answered. How do we land on this road? Like, because I know you guys, you'll have patience to work through it, but once it's, rezoned, you're gonna wanna move, and I don't know how long it's gonna take to decide on this road. Is there a rough timeline? I know you said it's a 6, but it seems like this would take longer to make a decision from the road alignment. And how does that impact you guys? I mean, do you just at a point say, okay, we gotta go and can't do that?
We can't, like I said, we can't have a blanket statement of
Yeah.
whenever it lands, we'll just agree and accept and refile a rezoning amendment to move the plans forward, because we do need to start construction documents and evolve that. So we are making a commitment to adapt some flexibility for and evaluate the alignments we just received. So we're gonna create some optionality for that says within this sort of tolerance, then that's what we would permit to. But I think right now we're trying to evaluate just how much, if you were to go back to your plan, there was a lot of adjustment.
And I'm assuming you'll have flexibility in rezoning that you lose
so like-
half an acre and some building.
Top orange, bottom purple, that's a substantial amount of the
Yeah.
property that gets impacted. So we're trying to look at what is easy to say yes to and what is difficult to.
And if it's approved, it'll be with some kind of conditional note that there's flexibility with the design, square footage, yeah.
Right, the idea would be to work through some options and then a condition being on the plan to say whichever one ultimately is closest,
Yeah.
then that's the one that they're gonna build. So when it comes time for construction plans and all that, it'll be based on the updated plan wherever that lands.
Okay.
More questions for the applicant or staff? All right. I'll take a motion.
I can give it a stab.
Go for it.
In considering the proposed rezoning application R24-14 Commerce Station Industrial, the planning board recommends approval based on the plan being consistent with the policies LU 1.1, LU 5, LU 7.1, LU 8.2, LU 11.1, and EOS 1.1 of the Huntersville 2040 plan. It is reasonable and in the public interest to approve the rezoning plan because it does not change the proposed uses of the existing zoning district and provides recommended flexibility to the employment centers and provides for a needed alternative entrance to the Greenway waste landfill. In addition, it mitigates the, and I guess this is where I'm going to have to insert the modifications. Hang on. Can you go to the modifications page, Brad, please? Yeah. We'll make a reference that, that we recommend approval of the modifications as presented in the staff report.
Any
And-
conditions on that? Any conditions?
No. And assuming that includes, yeah, because it does include staff, minor staff comments. That was part of one of the,
Okay.
I need to add that includes to address the minor staff comments that was included in the
Okay.
staff report.
So for staff recommendation, 1 through 6, just number 6 is the condition, or are you recommending all of staff's recommendations?
No, we're recommending all,
Okay, thank you.
sorry about that.
Sorry. Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Before we head into discussion, to the applicant team, sorry, I tried to catch you right before you sat down. What's your thoughts on the conditions? Like, where are we at with the sidewalk, trying to do the block length break?
Well, I think we're fine with all of them.
that
I think we're just trying to, the alignment's the one we're just, it's new information, it's a pretty big impact. We can't wait until, January to do the next step. So I think that one we're gonna work on as far as like how, a commitment that we work to address that and create a condition that staff's comfortable with.
Okay,
So that I think as written is fine.
okay, thank you. All right. Jay, it was your motion?
Oh, no, I mean, I'm totally okay with the swim buffer disturbance and the mitigation, the buffer mitigation, all of that. The block length makes sense, the alternate access to the landfill, and, the conditions with Bearhoff Drive to wait on that alignment. So I really have nothing else to add.
Chris, nothing? All right, discussion from anyone else? All I'll say as far as the water mitigation, definitely important that it stay local only because we are the source for so much of the regions, or, Charlotte's drinking water, and that's why we have more strict conditions than any of the other towns in North Mac and that type of thing. So for better or for worse, it rolls through us, so we gotta treat it well.
Brad was a great steward in that, so it was good to, we had conversation with the Rusty Roselli, I don't know how you say his last name now. Yeah, everything's, yeah, he was a little bit hesitant on trying to figure out at first, but then once he understood the purpose and the goal, and they already had a project that was active. So I think that Cane Creek project was one they were very willing, and given it's just outside of the picture, was something they were excited about.
Perfect. All right, stop. All right, if no other discussion, and if it's okay with Mr. Pollard, all those in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, folks. Jesus.
He'll never look
As
back
if it's not late enough, now I gotta go home and read Robert's rules. Again. All right.
That's great.
Folks, we do have a little bit of other business, correct? We need to, let's not pack up just yet. All right, we need to consider approval of a yet again revised planning board calendar. So this time, what's in front of us, we need to change the April meeting. Our originally scheduled meeting was April 22nd, which is a Tuesday at 6:30 PM. Due to the Board of Commissioners having to shift their schedule, we now need to shift as well. What's in front of us is, or what's being proposed is Tuesday, April 29th at 6:30 PM, so exactly 1 week later. Do I have a motion on that?
Motion to move the April meeting to the 29th.
Discussion. I'm not going to be here.
I know,
All right.
we'll miss you. All right, aside from Chris, any other discussion? No? All those in favor of the move? Any opposed? Seeing none, that carries unanimously. How about a motion to adjourn?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? None? Have a good night.